With strict curfews and physical distancing directives enforced to limit the spread of the highly contagious COVID-19, what is it like observing the holy month of Ramadan in the face of this pandemic? Madina Touré is my guest on Topical Discussions. She is a New York City K-12 and higher education policy and politics reporter at POLITICO, and also the co-curator of the Black Muslim series. Thanks for coming on today, Madina. So how would you explain Ramadan to a non-Muslim?
Ramadan is a holy month, and it's every year. Ramadan falls in the ninth month of the Islamic calendar. So it's a lunar-based system, which is different from the Gregorian calendar, which is what is used for other parts of the world, including the US. What happens is you don't eat. You fast for an entire month from sunrise to sunset. Can't eat any food. You can't drink. You can't consume anything. Basically, the idea is you're kind of gaining this deep spiritual connection with God, with Allah. It's really a time for self-reflection and really connecting with your religion and just really spending time with family and friends and building connections with other Muslims. It's a very important time. And I think another important thing to say is that Ramadan, this is the month where the first verses of the Quran were revealed to Prophet Muhammad. So in the last 10 days of Ramadan, there is something that's called the Night of Power, which is Laylat al-Qadr. And this is where the verses were revealed. No one knows the exact day, but it's believed to be on the 27th day of Ramadan. So it's a very important month for our religion.
So what is your favorite verse in the Quran?
Well, I really love the opening, Al-Fatiha. And I really like that. That's the beginning of the Quran. It begins with, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. And there are other verses like, Master of the Day of Judgment, Lord of the Worlds. It's a really powerful, strong verse. And it just kind of signifies the essence of the religion, the essence of what Allah means.
With the restrictions of COVID-19 this year, things are obviously different. How is the Muslim community coping with Ramadan?
Right. So yeah, as you said, it is very different this year because of the coronavirus pandemic. One of the big parts of the Ramadan experience is going to mosque. I mean, people go to mosque outside of Ramadan, but during Ramadan, we have a special set of prayers called Taraweeh. And basically, these are some extra prayers that we do during Ramadan, extra blessings. And it is voluntary, but most people do it. You do it nightly. You do it after the last prayer, Isha. And, it could be anywhere from an hour to 3 hours. That's something we do at the mosque. The imam usually leads that. There'll be like whatever number of rakahs. The imam will recite verses from the Quran and people will listen and pray along. This year, people have to be at home now. So, if you have someone who can lead it, who has, memorized parts of the Quran, that's great. Or you do it yourself. I mean, Taraweeh prayers are things you can do yourself as well. Like you just have to recite the verses from the Quran. That is a big change. People are used to doing Taraweeh prayers with other people. The other thing also, other aspect of Ramadan is the iftars. There are iftars every day. Different organizations, different individuals, different mosques are hosting iftars. And iftar is when you break your fast. There's the people serve the food and everything. That's a big part of it. I know I, for one, go to a lot of iftars during Ramadan. Usually there's like an iftar every day. So, now people have resorted to doing virtual iftars and, doing more virtual activities. There's also, I know now, like on a lot of pages, like the NYU Islamic Center, the Akin Institute, they have lectures and podcasts, things that you can watch and listen to. But at the same time, I would say that, because there are certain aspects, there are a lot of things that you can do at home yourself. I know people read the Quran during Ramadan. I've been reading the Quran this Ramadan. That's something I'm still doing. I've been kind of watching lectures and podcasts. My friend and I, my friend Fatima Tawage and I, we have this Black Muslim series every year. We honor Black Muslims. So I think there are changes, things are different, but I think people are kind of reminding themselves that, well, Ramadan is a time to appreciate what you have. So let's try to have a positive spirit and try to make the best of it. But clearly it is changed. And I would say I'm fortunate that I'm with my family. People who are alone are probably experiencing this in a tougher way. The people who are alone usually rely on these daily iftars and the mosque to be around other Muslims. So, yeah.
What are some of the principles that Ramadan has brought to focus for you?
I think first and foremost, especially given the time that we're in right now, it's just appreciating everything that you have, appreciating, it's basic things like family, food, shelter, having a job. Some people are in very tough circumstances right now. So I think, as we're in this pandemic and as we're in the month of Ramadan, it has really kind of impressed upon me the importance of realizing where I am in my life and what I have. And I think a lot of people are thinking that way. So I think that's one thing that's brought to focus, and having an appreciation for what Ramadan is and what it signifies. And I think a lot of what Ramadan is about is being able to fast no matter. Now, I want to be careful how I say that. Like, I think first I should say that there are exceptions with respect to fasting. Let's say if you're pregnant and you're nursing, or you have an injury or an illness that requires you to take medicine. Let's say you have an eating disorder. There are circumstances where you don't have to fast. Aside from those circumstances, if you're, in good health and you're alive and everything, the whole purpose of Ramadan is really being able to fast in no matter what circumstances you have. So yes, in some ways, Ramadan kind of presents this challenge, like being able to not eat from sunrise to sunset requires a certain amount of willpower. And I think with the pandemic, given that it's created a different circumstance, it's almost like it's a challenge for you. It's like, okay, like this is a situation. We're at home. We can't go to mosque. We can't, do these daily iftars, but we still have to persevere through it. Again, like people read the Quran during Ramadan, but I think for me, like since I'm home, I'm reading it even more than I normally do.
From a female perspective, what are some of the health benefits? A lot of people will do it for weight loss, but apart from that, are there other benefits that women look forward to throughout the month?
I know sometimes people will kind of talk about that jokingly, the weight loss aspect, but I do think it is like good for your body, like when you fast, because you're not consuming anything. In a way, it's kind of like you're cleaning out your body in a sense. And
now, Madina, you are also a journalist. Could you tell us how you've been able to manage your schedule and the stress with all that's going on in New York, where you're based out of?
When you have things to do, sometimes it makes it easier. This week was like a pretty hectic week news-wise. I try to avoid evening coverage unless it's absolutely necessary during Ramadan, because I don't want it to like interfere too much with the time where we have to break fast.
But what are some of the things that a woman cannot do throughout the month of Ramadan? Let me rephrase that. A single woman cannot do. We're both single. We're both on that table. So what is the one thing that a single woman cannot do? A young Muslim girl of age to marry, of age to date, cannot do throughout the month of Ramadan.
Right. Okay. I think one thing, I would say one thing that's like specific to women is you have your period, you have to stop fasting. Once you finish, you can resume fasting again, and then you have to pay it back.
What kind of creativity have you seen with people trying to make the best of the holy month with majority stuck at home in New York there?
I think one thing I've seen is like people are trying to like find ways to kind of distribute meals to people. I've been seeing that a lot in the Muslim community. I've been seeing people posting on social media and saying, hey, I want to kind of organize something, give out meals to people. I know, I think the city has also mentioned that it's trying to distribute halal meals as well. And then, of course, with virtual activities, there's lots of lectures and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. And may I ask you, what is the one thing you're praying for this month?
I'm really praying for this pandemic to end as soon as possible, and for people to, I know there's been a lot of loss in a lot of communities, and so just praying that there won't be any more losses, but definitely praying for, the families and loved ones of people who have died from this virus. But I'm just hoping that it dies down as soon as possible, and just really hoping for the best for everyone to be safe.